As the holes get bigger and the rivers get tougher, one thing to remember is you may get stuck in a hole. So number one rule that I have is you shouldn't run any rapid that you're not confident, number one, that you can get through the hole, or number two, that you can get out of the hole if you do get stuck, or finally, number three, if you end up getting stuck, can't get out and have to swim, you're not putting yourself in any excessive risk, that you're going to be able to swim out of the hole or you've got safety set. Those are three rules to remember when you're running class 3, 4, 5 or up rapids, is that you need to make sure that that hole is not going to cause major issues. So let's first start with getting through the holes or over the holes. A lot of the rapids, as they get steeper, the holes get stronger, and as the river is high in the river, you're going to find that the holes get stronger. Your objective as holes become more pourovers and become stronger is to have really good boofing technique. Just remember that if you can keep your bow dry and land dry in the hole, you can carry your downstream momentum into the foam pile and skip on downstream. Now, where do you run hard holes? Generally speaking, you try to run them where they're the weakest or where you can get the best boof. Most of the time, the best boofs are up on the rocks where you'll have more of an eddy behind the hole and you can skip the hole altogether landing in the eddy. But oftentimes, the water's straight off and you don't have that option, so you're boofing over a drop right into the hole. Just remember, when you're heading downstream and you've got to boof the hole, and you've got to keep your bow up, that the key isn't necessarily how fast you're going, but the key is taking a long, late boof stroke, reaching over the edge, lifting your knees, and pull, 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 until you can get your rear end clearing the drop as far as possible. That's the best way to land on top and carry your momentum downstream. When you land at the bottom and you hit the hole, don't be lazy and assume you're going to make it. Go ahead and take an extra couple strokes downstream to keep it going. Now, you don't make it and you get stuck in the hole. Hopefully you've done a little bit of play boating or you've been surfing some smaller holes and you're ready for it. If you did a good job scouting the rapid in advance, you'll know where the best exit is, whether it's river left or river right. Either way, use your hole surfing technique, pulling yourself out, get the bow downstream, continue on. Anytime you're running a rapid with a hole that you think that you could get stuck in, that you don't think you can easily surf out of, or worse even, that you don't think you could easily swim out of, you shouldn't be running it without ropes in place and experienced people there. You may even consider walking it. Here we are standing at a rapid with two main pourovers. One of them is fairly easy to run, one of them's not. How do you determine that? And how do you determine whether you can run it? Pourover number one here, I want you to notice that it's not in the main flow, it's more on river right. And if you look, there's not that much water going over the rock, and the water's not going that fast. If you look at the foam pile down below, it's flat, and it looks like it's going to be easy to boof on top of. And even if you slightly get slowed down or almost stop, the water, the boil isn't strong enough that you can't just paddle away. Now take a look at pourover number two. Pourover number two is in the middle of the river. It's in the main flow, so there's a lot more water and it's going over the same size rock. If you look at the foam pile in pourover number two, you've got a much taller boil, much boilier water, and the water has space between the green water and the foam pile. It's also sloping a lot more gradually. It's going to be way harder to get a boof on top of that one. The combination of the faster water, the steeper foam pile, and the more difficult boof makes pourover number two a much more difficult move than pourover number one. There's one more factor in this. You don't have a clean run into either pourovers for the boof. Both of them are protected by a hole at the top. What's that hole going to do to you? Sure enough, it's going to slow you down a little bit. So you have to consider the lead-in to both of these moves as well. Most people would run on river right, where pourover number one is easy to boof over and easy to paddle away from. But guess what? There's even a sneak line. You don't have to go into either pourover if you don't want to. There's actually a line on river left, just left of pourover number two, that you can skip the whole thing. If you did happen to get surfed in either pourover one or pourover two, both of them have fairly difficult exits. If you're side surfing pourover number one, you should try to get out into this eddy. However, the current is sneaking around in this eddy. It's going to be trying to push you out. However, I'm pretty sure that you can get out that way. If you can't, you're going to be forced to go out towards the center of the river, and you're going to be at risk of getting sucked in pourover number two. Pour over number 2 would be what you call a frowny hole. When you're coming down on it, you notice that the pour over wraps around all the way up to pour over number 1. Coming out this side of pour over number 2 is going to be hard. You're going to be coming out and the hole is going to keep pushing your bow. There's no green water to push you out. The far side is going to be the easiest. However, it's still a frowny hole on that side, and it's uphill. You've got a curler as well, so you have both uphill and frowny hole all in one. So any way you look at it, surfing both of these will be a little bit dicey. Will challenge your hole surfing skills for sure. Now, if you're a good play boater and are familiar with holes, getting out of the holes is definitely possible. There's no reason to have to swim. But if your hole running skills aren't super strong, you're going to want to boof pour over number 1 or sneak pour over number 2.